Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Now the topic of today's video is something that I have experienced myself throughout my career, and I thought it would be a good idea to make a video about this topic today. Now, as you guys might have guessed from the title, the topic that we are going to be talking about today is 3 things that you must master first in order to be successful in your life. Now guys, I am by no way a scientist or a doctor or any other professional to give you a certificate of guarantee stating that the things I speak about in this video today are the only things that you need to be successful. Of course, success is a result of combination of various factors, but in this video today specifically, what I want to talk about is those 3 things or those 3 areas of your life which you must master in order to be successful. Now, let me give you a brief explanation for the reason of my topic. Any successful person in this world that you might have met or seen, they might be doing thousands of things in order to be successful. But now I can't tell you about all the things that they have been doing. But one thing I can guarantee you is this: that they have in their control all of the 3 things that I'm going to be mentioning to you in this video today. So if that sounds interesting, let's get started. So the first thing on the list is your sleep. Yes, S-L-E-E-P, sleep. Now sleep is something that I've seen a lot of people not give priority in their life, including myself. There was a time when sleep was the last thing I used to think about in my life. My life was always driven by parties, hanging out with friends, and if I had time, then studying. But sleep was never in the priority list. Now, as at my age, as I grew older and older, I started realizing sleep is something that must always be on my priority list. And now, having gained all those experiences, I can clearly tell you that sleep is the first thing that you must master if you want to be successful. Now, when it comes to sleeping, there are a couple of things I would like to talk about. The first is your sleep cycle. See, a lot of us have this habit of going to bed whenever we want and getting up whenever we want. Now, that might sound fun and interesting, but if you really want to be successful, I suggest you fix a sleep schedule for you. Like, for example, in my case, every day I go to bed at 12 a.m. and I wake up by 8 a.m. at max. I never go beyond 8 a.m. any day, whether it's the weekdays or the weekend. So that's the first thing. And when it comes to sleeping, of course, the next thing we have to talk about is the sleep cycle, or the hours of sleep you need in a day. Now, there have been debates online and among my friends as to how many hours of sleep do you need. Now, first thing that I would like to suggest in this is try to understand your body. How many hours of sleep do you think your body needs? Try experimenting with this. Maybe there are days when you sleep only 5 hours and that day you don't really feel that good, or maybe there are other days where you sleep for, I don't know, maybe 8 hours and maybe you feel better. So please try to keep track of those days when you feel better and the hours of sleep you got on that particular day. Once you do this couple of times through trial and error, you will start noticing a pattern, and finally you will realize, yes, this is the magic number for you. In my case, it's 8 hours, and in your case, even though I don't know who is watching this video right now, I would suggest 8 hours is the right amount of time for it. I would suggest to start trying with 8 hours. 8 hours seems to be the number I have seen on number of times online and through various people's being recommended. So I think 8 hours is the right amount of hours to get sleep. Next up, when it comes to sleeping, there are various benefits of sleeping. Like you become more productive when you get enough sleep. You feel more fresh throughout the day, and you can manage your time better. Now, there are days, I still remember the days during my internship where on the days where I got at least 8 hours of sleep, I used to feel more productive. I used to know what is in my schedule for that day, and because I woke up on time, I would have, most of the times I would have little bit of extra time to spare at the end of the day, and that was the time I used to keep for myself to reflect on what I have been doing with my life. Now, I'm not asking you to go straight into talking with yourself after saving time through sleep, or after managing your sleep cycle. What I am trying to say is, if you are able to save a couple of hours or maybe even 1 hour each day, maybe you could use that spare time to improve other areas of your life. Maybe your relationship with your parents, maybe your relationship with your girlfriend or boyfriend, depending on who is watching this. Or maybe you could use those time to work on any of your passion projects, which is for which you are not able to devote time during your day-to-day work. So that is another reason why you should be giving your top priority to sleep. So regardless of who you are or what you do, I suggest you keep sleep as your number one list, as your number one priority if you want to be successful. So that's all about sleep. Let's move on to next topic. After mastering your sleep, another important area of your life that you should master is your food. Now, it might sound funny when I say you must master your food, but hear me out. Hear me out, guys. Food is a very essential part of your life. I mean, think about it. You need food to survive, you need to eat food every day, and without food, nothing is possible. There's a question I always wonder about, and that question is whether we live to eat, or whether we eat to live. Now, that's besides the point. Now, let me move on to actual tips when it comes to food. Now, when it comes to food, there are three things that you must think about. First is the quantity of food. A lot of us have the tendency to eat huge quantities of food when we are hungry, and now that's not a good thing. I guess you have experienced this yourself. When you eat quantity of food that's more than your limit, you feel lethargic, you don't feel active, you don't feel like doing anything, and you feel more sleepy. So definitely the quantity of food you eat is very important. So I would suggest you try to once again understand your body and try to control the quantity of food you eat. Next up is even more important than the quantity of food, and that is the quality of your food. Where are your food sources coming from? Are you eating huge amount of carbs, or are there enough quantity of proteins and fats mixed in? Do some research, guys. Now, I'm not a doctor, and you probably are not a doctor as well, but these are basic things like carbs, macronutrients, proteins, that you could just research on Google, or even better, you could watch videos about these on YouTube itself, and you can educate yourself about these things. So what I suggest in terms of quantity is research the kind of food that your body needs when you are active during the day, and try to incorporate even healthier foods, obviously looking into your budget as well. There could be very expensive good quality food, and there could also be not so expensive good quality food. So what I want you to do is find a balance between the two depending on your budget, and make eating good quality of food your priority. I've seen a lot of people waste their money on alcohol, waste their money on jewelries they don't need, but not really think about the quality of food they eat. So what I suggest is forget the jewelry, forget other flashy stuff, and invest your money in good quality of food. Now, next up, accept the quantity and quality is the timing of your food. What I mean by that is, when do you have your breakfast, when do you have your lunch, are those timings good for your work? Maybe you have a habit of eating a huge quantity of lunch, and your lunch time is around, I don't know, maybe 1 p.m., and maybe you're depending on the type of work you do, 1 p.m. is the time when the most important part of your work is to be done. And if in that moment you consume a huge quantity of food, you are definitely going to feel less active and very lazy. So I suggest you figure out your timing first, and for that you will need to figure out your sleep cycle, and then your work timing, and then depending on these two things you need to figure out the timing of your food. So having said these 2 3 things about food, let's now move on to the very normal thing, that is the benefits of food, benefits of good food, I must say. And I don't think there's a lot I need to say about this topic right here. There are hundreds of benefits of good food. Let me quickly try to mention few of them. So when you eat good quantity of food, and the quality good qual when you eat sorry when you eat good quality of food and enough quantity of food, you don't feel very sleepy, you feel much more healthier, you look better in your clothes, and when you look better on your clothes, of course you become more attractive to everyone. So these are some of the few reasons of good quality food. I'm sure you can find even more reasons as to why you should manage your food habits. So that was all about food, guys. Now let's move on to the next point. So next up is the category which I think is the most underrated when it comes to stopping people from becoming successful. And of course, I'm talking about distractions and temptations. The world today is filled with distractions everywhere, and I'm sure we all are aware of this fact. Now, I'm pretty sure the device on which you are watching me right now is one of the biggest sources of distraction in your life, and you probably know that, but are not doing anything to control it. So, am I telling you to stop using your smartphone from today? Definitely not. Smartphones could be used for both good and bad, and I'm pretty sure in 2020 all of us know about its benefits and its harms. But what I'm trying to talk about is the control factor, or the aspect of control involved in this. Now, I find myself getting distracted on my phone a lot of times, and this in the past has hampered my success in many ways. And there's a really interesting concept that you could use to get rid of this distraction in your life, and I think it's called the 5 second rule, and it was coined by Mel Robbins. I think that's her name, Mel Robbins, and she has even written a book on this topic. So let me tell you how to use the 5 second rule to avoid distraction or to get rid of distractions in your life. So whenever you find yourself getting distracted by something, first thing the first thing, even before the 5 second rule, is to be aware of the fact that you are getting distracted. That's step number 1. Now step number 2 is to ask yourself, is this the best use of your time right now? Now once you ask yourself this question, you are pretty much going to be aware of what you should actually be doing and what you are doing. Now once this happens, what you are going to do is count till 5. 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1. Once you give yourself a time limit of 5 seconds, or it could be 10 seconds or 3 seconds depending on what you prefer. In my case I use 5 seconds, so I'm talking about 5 seconds. Once you give yourself 5 seconds to go back to what you are doing or start doing what you are supposed to be doing, it for your brain, this call for action forces your brain to go back and do what you were supposed to do. But if you don't give yourself that time limit, your brain will trick you into thinking that you could spend a minute or two more and nothing is going to happen. So what I suggest you do is give your brain this time limit to go back and get into your work. So once again, what you do is become aware of the fact. First of all, become aware of the fact that you are wasting your time or you are getting distracted, and then give yourself 5 seconds to go back to do what you were supposed to do. And I'm pretty sure this is going to help you if you try it honestly. Now, there's not a lot I could talk about distraction in this short video, so I'll definitely be making a video on this topic on its own. But before I end, I would like to give you a brief summary of what I talked about today. Basically, what I talked about was the 3 things that you must master first in order to be successful, whether you are in politics, whether you are in education, whether you are in entrepreneurship or any other field of your life. So these 3 things is something everyone must try to improve. They are sleep, your sleep cycle, your sleeping habits. Next up is your food habits, eating habits, and last but not the least is your ability to remove distractions and temptations from your life. So if you thought this video was helpful to you, please consider giving it a like. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And next up, what you could do is comment down below other things that you think should be incorporated in our daily life to become successful.